So a couple of days ago, Insta360 kind of hit us out of nowhere with their announcement of the upcoming release of their new 1R modular action camera. And with the major camera companies not really releasing anything too exciting lately, it's been a while since I've been this hyped for a camera. And with their 1-inch sensor and the cooperation with Leica, they kind of draw this picture of a almost full-frame camera quality, super wide-angle vlogging machine with good aperture in the small and rugged body, basically a vlogger's dream. And over the last couple of days, a lot of influencers released basically the same video talking about how awesome this new camera is. However, what we have to think about is that all these influencers who have the camera in their hands, they were handpicked and they were chosen to get that camera early and talk about it, and they're all under this embargo. They're not allowed to release any footage yet. So it's more or less just advertising and telling us what we basically know from the camera announcement trailer already. But when I look at these videos and the specs and everything Insta360 announced, there are a couple of things that I think nobody is talking about and that should be addressed. Well, first of all, the big draw for the camera, the modular design, I think is an awesome idea. To have a good vlogging solution action camera that can also be used as a 360 camera just sounds pretty amazing to me. It will also have the option to flip that screen around, so you have a little selfie screen, which is nice to have. However, that screen is pretty small compared to a GoPro one. It's basically just half the size or even smaller. So that's a good thing, I guess, but not great. Then in the promo video, there are a couple of features of this camera that are, in my opinion, just more or less marketing gimmicks. One is the mark that option. You saw that maybe in the video. You have the 360 camera and you point it at an object and you say mark that, and then wherever that object moves, it apparently follows it along. And I'm very curious how good that feature will turn out to be, because I'm a little skeptical, and it almost seems like that they're telling me that I don't really need to edit or frame it later on. But as a content creator, I really think everybody will later on go in and have to edit and frame their footage either way. So it really comes down to how good that feature will work out of the box, and maybe it can make editing easier, but I really highly doubt that that will be very, very usable. The next one is the stop motion function, which is kind of a weird floaty time warp thing. Then there's a star lapse function, which is supposedly a time lapse overnight where you can point your camera at the sky and it just basically does a time lapse and it blurs the stars a little bit. Then there's also this auto framing subject options. You just find interesting subjects in your frame and frames it by itself. And all of these features really seem to portray this idea of you don't have to really edit your footage that heavily. And I think that's mainly directed at people who are new to video making, because the editing process is the intimidating part for a lot of people, I guess. And the idea of this camera really does it by itself seems to be directed towards these people, and it's just a marketing thing, because in the end, all these features are either gimmicks that you'll use once or twice, laugh at it, and then probably never use it again, or they will just turn out not to be as usable as the promotion suggests. Then we kind of know exactly what to expect quality-wise from the 360 camera, from the previous Insta360 One X, which is basically the same camera. And the 4K version of the camera will probably not be better than the GoPro, and if so, probably just very slightly, and will not warrant an upgrade. So the real question is, how good is the 1-inch sensor module gonna be? Is it gonna look way better than a GoPro or a DJI Osmo Action? Is it gonna be better in low light, and if so, how much? How good is it gonna be? And funny thing, on the backside of the 1-inch module, it says 14.4 millimeter and 3.2 aperture equivalent. So let's put that in perspective. The GoPro has an aperture of 2.8, but the sensor is way smaller. So the equivalent of a full frame sensor would be about 16. And with the 1R, the 14.4 millimeter focal length is exactly what you want as a vlogger. And I thought, hey, 3.2 aperture full frame equivalent, that must be amazing in low light. But I think it's 3.4 aperture for a 1-inch sensor, which basically becomes a 9.5 full frame equivalent. So in action camera terms, that's pretty good. However, if you compare, for example, to the G7X Mark II, which has also a 1-inch sensor, that camera has an aperture of 1.8 to 2.8. And we know that that thing was decent in low light, not great. And with a 3.2 for the 1R, it seems to be a little worse. However, we saw with especially phone companies lately that there's a lot that you can do software-wise. So it will really come down to how good is the 1-inch sensor on the 1R gonna be in low light. And I'm very curious to finally see footage. And we can't really tell at the moment how good it's gonna be, but is there gonna be shallow depth of field? If there is, that is first of all awesome, but that means there's stuff out of focus too. So is there an autofocus in this camera, and how good is that gonna be? Also, if you shoot under bright conditions, you most definitely will need an ND filter, otherwise the shutter speed will just go crazy. Another thing people don't mention is the battery situation. First of all, I like the modular design, yes, but with the battery being the base, it will probably become a little bit more annoying to switch the battery than, for example, in a GoPro, especially if you have it in that case. And also an extra battery is gonna be pretty expensive. It's listed for $30 in the US right now, and I think you will definitely need 1 or 2 extras if you buy that camera. And let's say the 1-inch sensor delivers, that would be awesome, but there's one other issue with action cameras, and that is the audio solution. So we saw that Insta360 has this little USB-C to 3.5mm jack audio adapter, and that is listed for $10 at the moment, which gives it a huge leg up on GoPro with their incredibly stupid adapter. But the question will be, how sturdy will that solution be? I have to say I'm always a little skeptical when it comes to USB-C outlets on a camera. They wiggle a bit, even on the GoPro it does it. And I think that is what caused the biggest audio issues with the GoPro, and Insta going down that same route. We'll really have to see how sturdy, how good these adapters are, and if it works flawlessly with a microphone like the Rode Video Micro. Then nobody's talking about the focal length. It really sounds like there will only be one focal length available on the 1-inch sensor and also the 4K module. So an advantage that the GoPro has, it always had these linear, medium, wide, ultra wide, super view, whatever shooting modes, and the 1R seems to have just one fixed focal length. Then a quick word towards the stabilization. We know that the 360 module will have incredible stabilization because we've seen it over and over again. We don't know how good the stabilization in the 4K and the 1-inch module will be. I think it's not a big concern because even if it's worse than a GoPro, it's most likely gonna be good enough because all action cams have incredible stabilization at this point. And concerning the price, this camera is not gonna be cheap. Yes, the entry one with the 4K module only looks pretty cheap with $300, but the 1-inch sensor version will cost you $550. Then there's this twin pack with the 4K and the 360 for $480. But unfortunately, what I kind of want, and I think a lot of content creators want, is a pack with the 1-inch sensor and the 360 module. So I can go around, have a nice vlogging solution with the 1-inch sensor, but also have the option to put on the 360 camera whenever I want to. And there is no pack for that, so you have to add that. And if you choose the 1-inch version and add the 360 one, it will cost you $750. But at that point, you can just go with the twin version and add the 1-inch sensor, and that will cost you $780, but you get the additional 4K module for basically $30, so I'll take that too. So the camera alone comes close to $800 with these two mods, and if you're just starting out, you definitely need an extra battery or two, an adapter, a microphone, an SD card. You also probably want the invisible selfie stick, and with all of that stuff, it easily becomes a $1,000 camera. However, if you just want to start vlogging with it and you're gonna go with the 1-inch version plus the adapter, it will cost you $560. And if we compare that to the GoPro 8, which is about $350, plus the media mod, which is still not out, that will cost you another $80. That's $430. It's a little closer in price, and if they deliver on that picture quality, the low light, the ease of use and all that good stuff, there will be a good case to go with the Insta360 against the GoPro 8. So to sum it up, a lot of these new features that they promote seem to be gimmicks for marketing purposes, and it will really come down to, will they deliver on the 1-inch sensor? Will the picture quality be awesome? And I don't really care about daylight because all cameras nowadays look awesome in good lighting situations. So it's about the low light. Is it gonna be amazing? And is the audio solution gonna be better than the one on the freaking GoPro. If they deliver on those two things, you might have a vlogging dream with you, with the option to just quickly swap out a module and have a 360 camera as well.